Welcome back everyone. Deadlock just dropped a huge patch, not in its size, but how it's going to impact the game. In this video, I'm just going to go over some of the highlights and what I think is really important. So starting at the top, they added a new hero to Hero Labs called Trapper, and they added support for Hero Labs so you can use them at any time. Previously, you could only use them for like 2 hours at night. Now you can use them at any time and try out those heroes. The first big change is Quick Buy. This comes from Dota, and it allows you just to right-click your items in the shop to set up a queue of items that'll immediately purchase when you enter the shop. Now, you can change it so that it doesn't automatically buy them, and you can switch it to a hotkey, whatever your preference is, but now you can just open the shop, queue up several items, and just walk into shop and have the shop buy them automatically for you. The next change is that they improve some shaders, and so hopefully this kind of stops that frame loss that sometimes we would have. They added a visual indicator when browsing builds to see which is most present in the build. So if you're trying to build a vitality heavy, or like for instance, you're looking for a gun bebop, it'll show more orange so that you can see that it's weapon focused. They added a recent purchase log, and then they have some other changes in here that aren't incredibly important. Feel free to pause the video or check them out on your own if you want. But we're gonna go down to the next big change, which is troopers no longer change soul sharing rules after the laning phase ends, meaning two heroes don't split souls. So previously what happened was at 8 minutes, souls switched from being duplicated to then being split. So now that that doesn't happen, two people can be in a wave at the same time and get double the farm. This is going to mean that there is going to be so much more farm on the map. It's going to be hugely inflationary to the souls economy. Previously at 8 minutes, you wanted to leave one person in the lane to get the most value out of the souls there, and then have somebody rotate or jump into the jungle to get farm. Now you can have multiple people in a lane and it'll just grow your farm even more. So lanes are so much more important than neutral creeps. It's just going to cause a lot more fighting. It's going to cause the laning phase to last longer. It's going to be just a great change overall for the game. The next one is troopers no longer increase their bounty by 20% at 8 minutes. Again, as I said, this is going to be inflationary, so they're trying to stop that inflation creep of souls. So hero gold increased from 150 to 1400 to 175 to 2000. This is huge again because now people are going to want to be staying in the lanes, and now kills are worth more, so there's going to be more team fights, there's going to be more grouping to get objectives. This is going to increase the speed of play of the game, and it is going to be amazing. Neutral creeps now give 5% less souls. Again, this is just pushing it back into they want people in lanes, they want people grouped up, they want people to get kills. This is going to be so much fun. Troopers now take 28% more damage from Guardians, which means that Guardians can't really get ratted by Troopers if you just have a Trooper wave pushing into them, which means, again, you're gonna have to group up more and take objectives. Walker's damage versus players increased by 10%. This was really necessary because it felt like they just did nothing. It felt like you could stand under Guardian and shoot it and just, go about your merry day. Next thing we're going to go on to is Guardians will now focus their attack on enemy players if an enemy player shoots a hero and the enemy player is within 15 meters of the Guardian. This comes from Dota. This is massive. So before you could stand under Guardian and just harass the enemy, and so they couldn't get their last hits, they would just die to tower, or they would trade out a lot of their life. Now you can't do that. Now you're much safer underneath your Guardian, so it might be better to kind of keep your lane kind of pushed up onto your stairs, keep it under your Guardian so that you're safer if you're in a really hard lane. Next change we're going to go on to is moved 8 neutral camps, 4 on each side from the outer lanes, behind the walkers to the inner circle, on top of the roofs. So you'll see here that this paradox is on top of the roof, and this is a new camp. So they moved the camps, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, from the outside to the roof here, and then on the ground here. So this is going to be great because it's going to cause people to deal with the verticality a little bit better and cause people to use that verticality more and maybe make plays from up there. I really like this change. It felt like these camps on the outside were just kind of useless and really far out of the way of just the action and everything going on within the map. It felt like if you were here, it just kind of closed off the entire map. So moving on to the next one, biased urn delivery locations move slightly closer to neutral positions. I really like this change because before it just felt like the urn was too far on the other side of the map. It just felt too punitive for the other team to come on that side of the map. It just felt too far forward. You could push your lanes to mid, and it was really hard to contest or even get there in time. So I'm glad they did this. They're probably going to edit this a little bit more. Minor adjustments to respawn curve. So will be a longer respawn now, earlier. So at 40 seconds at 17 minutes instead of 20 minutes. So again, They're trying to have a lot of people fight, put people down for longer so that people can start pushing walkers and into the base earlier and kind of speed up the pace of the game, which I think is a really, really good thing. So walkers, armor loss happens now at 60 minutes instead of 14. It was a little too early. Trooper spirit resist goes from 30 instead of 40% at 25. This is good for all of those spirit heavy heroes. Mid-boss rejuvenator trooper health increased by 30%. This is huge. This makes the mid-boss so much better because as we set up here, we have 28% more damage from guardians, which means your troopers are going to die faster underneath towers. So this is going to help push out your lanes that much more, and lane control wins you games. Having the mid-boss is a much better buff, and I think it's going to cause people to probably take it a little bit sooner now than they used to, especially with increased respawn times and people trying to fight more. Moving on to items and starting at weapon items, there's a lot of changes here, but none of them are particularly game-breaking. Pause the video, take a read through them if you want. The only thing I really want to highlight is toxic bullets. Damage changed from 5% of current health to 2.5% of max health. So it had a lot of value when people were really high before in health. Now it'll just have pretty good value overall, and it's gonna be really good on people like Infernus, who, wants to take people down over time and can oftentimes just leave people to die to their burn, and also likes to buy toxic bullets. Moving on to the vitality items, again, similar thing, not any huge changes here, except for Soul Rebirth got removed straight up from the game. It was kind of like the Aegis in Dota 2, but I think they thought it was a little bit too strong, and it didn't really play with how they wanted the game to play, especially with their new teamfight mechanics that they want to do. So I think this is okay. They may add it back, in the future, but I think it's fine for right now. Going on to the spirit items, there are two items that I really want to talk about, and that is Decay got a massive buff, in my opinion. So it now grants HP regen. It grants ability duration, and its healing reduction was increased from 50 to 70%. Yes, its bleeds damage was reduced, but its cooldown was reduced by 12 seconds. This is going to make Decay really good. This is going to really counter Abrams, similarly to how, going back up to the weapon items, toxic bullets will counter Abrams. They're trying to get rid of that spirit healing, that life steal meta that really built up around Shiv. And the second one I want to talk about is improved burst. It now triggers on base damage rather than how much the target receives. So before, if you didn't have enough damage, it did it after spirit armor was put into effect. So when you had like improved burst, it could be hard to, if you were kind of behind, to actually activate this item because they would have spirit armor and you wouldn't be able to deal enough damage. Now it applies on base damage, which means it's going to proc basically every single time and just give you flat damage and better damage throughout against everybody. Moving on to the hero changes, there's not a ton of game-breaking changes here. They still can't figure out Bebop. They increased his damage gained per hero impact again and reduced on the kill. So they're still trying to figure him out. Trying to nerf Grey Talon just a little bit, especially this charged shot hitbox size. Before it felt like you could get hit anywhere, and they also reduced his mobility a little bit while he's using Rain of Arrows. The biggest change, I think, in this one is Haze. I think Haze got a huge buff here. So Bullet Dance no longer hits 2 targets, so it only hits 1 instead of 2, which makes this much more of a single person ult, or just hitting fewer people if you have Ricochet. But it also now grants 30% fire rate. So we could see more use of this as kind of a solo kill mechanic, like you just sleep them, and then you just ult them and they're gonna die. And it now allows you to use items during it. I love this change because it was kind of hard before when you were getting into a team fight when you have 4 active items to use all 4 active items and then ult while you're kind of maybe dash jumping in. So I think this is great. The Sleep Dagger T3 now causes them to wake up with minus 40% fire rate. This will allow you to kind of get away easier, especially from heroes that have a lot of bullet damage. Everybody else, Lash now can ground strike while on the zip line. I think that's gonna be interesting. Beginnis got a little nerf, Mirage got a little nerf, Paradox got a little nerf. They were all a little too strong. Same with Vindicta, got a little bit of a nerf, and kind of the rest of everybody else got some minor changes, but nothing huge. Thank you all for watching, and let me know your thoughts on this patch down below in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you want me to make this a series and keep breaking down patch notes. Also, you can find my Twitch channel down below in the description if you want to hang out with me live. I'd love to see you there.